In the second part of this lecture, we will now be discussing about the three remaining types of tissues: the connective tissue, the muscle tissue, and the nervous tissues. So connective tissues are tissues consisting of cells scattered in an extracellular matrix of their own secretions. So most connective tissues contain the fibroblast, polysaccharides, collagen, which are the most abundant protein in the animal body, and the collagen synthesis requires vitamin C and also elastin. So loose connective tissues are the most abundant tissue in vertebrates. So the components are widely scattered in a gel-like matrix. They surround the organs, the nerves, and the blood vessels. Whereas the dense, irregular connective tissues, these are the collagen fibers that are randomly arranged, and they can withstand stretching in any direction. So dense, regular connective tissue, on the other hand, are examples of that are the fibroblasts, which are arranged. These are cells that are arranged in orderly rows. So they exist between parallel, tightly packed bundles of collagen fibers. Scar tissues can also be fibroblast tissues. So maximum strength, they have a maximum strength in single direction, and it's the main tissue in tendons and ligaments. And then we also have specialized connective tissues, which are the adipose tissue, the cartilage, bone tissue, and blood. So these are the four examples or four classifications of your connective tissues. So you have the loose connective tissues. As you can see in the image, this is the actual micrograph image, stained micrograph image of your loose connective tissues. As you can see, the individual structures, they are actually quite loose. So what are these? So these are your elastin fibers. So they underlie, the loose connective tissue underlie most epithelial tissues and provides elastic support, can also store fluids. So in the next one, we have the dense, irregular connective tissues. So they are found in the deep layer of the skin, that's the dermis, and the walls of the guts, and in the kidney capsules. So as you can see, they are actually dense. In here, you can see gaps or spaces between, but this one, they are very tightly packed together. So they are dense but irregular, as opposed to the dense regular. So as you can see, the regularities in your the arrangement of the cells in the tissues. So the dense regular tissues are examples of that are the tendons and the ligaments. They form fibrous attachment between the parts of your body that allow stretching. However, it's only in one direction. And then the last subclassification of your connective tissue we have is a specialized one. So an example here is the adipose tissue. As you can see, it's actually blobs. They are rich in fat, so they are fat cells. The adipose tissues are the fat cells. So they are bulgy tissues, and they're actually quite similar to your squamous epithelial tissue, but they are not epithelial tissue. They lie under the skin and surrounds the heart and the kidney. So they are the storage of fats, the lipids. They store energy-rich lipids. They insulate the body parts and also cushions some body parts. So this is another type of specialized connective tissue. So you have the cartilage here. So the cartilage that forms the internal framework of your ears, the nose, the airways, and they cover the ends of the bones. So this is a type of connective tissue. So the cells are rather loose, but they are embedded in an extracellular matrix. So they support soft tissue, and they cushion. They serve as cushions. It reduces friction of the joints. So here, the cells, these are the cells, and then surrounding them are glycoprotein-rich matrix with fine collagen fibers. And then this is the bone tissue. So the bone tissue again is here. The bone tissue, you have it here. These are the blood vessels. The bone cells are the dark stained ones. And what is this white? This is your mineralized extracellular matrix of the bone. So the bone tissue produces the bulk of most vertebrate skeletons. They tend to protect soft tissue. They function in movement, they store minerals, and produces the blood cells. And then last but not the least, you have the blood cells. The blood. The blood is a connective tissue. So specialized connective tissue. they flow through the blood vessels in the heart. They distribute essential gases and nutrients and remove waste from them. So the blood is fluid. So unlike other tissues that have a specific structure, they are say not exactly semi-solid. They are actually solids. Blood is liquid. So, or rather, a suspension consisting of the cells suspended in a plasma or a fluid plasma. So that is your connective tissue. So the next type of tissue, we have the muscle tissues. So three sub-classification of the muscle tissues. You have the skeletal muscle tissues. They pull on bones to move your body parts. The cells in the skeletal muscle tissues are long and cylindrical. They have striated appearance, so they are striped, and they are basically the voluntary muscles. So that means you have complete control on them. So you can control them voluntarily. So they can deliberately make cells contract. So they also store glycogen. So if you remember, glycogen is the storage of carbohydrates in the animal cells or animal tissues. So cardiac muscle tissue, they occur only in the heart walls. They consist of branching cells, each with a nucleus. So these cells are connected by adhering junctions and also gap junctions. So this is especially important in the cardiac muscle tissue because they ensure signals so that your heart, the tissues, the cells in the heart contracts collectively. So they contract in a certain systematic manner in order to function properly. So the gap junction ensures that the signal are properly distributed and can move quickly through the muscles. And then we have the smooth muscle tissues. They are located in the walls of your blood vessels and internal organs. So as a muscle tissue, they can contract. So your blood vessels can contract and expand depending on the needs of your body. So they are composed of unbranched cells with a nucleus. They are tapered at both ends and they are not striated. So they contract more slowly than the skeletal muscle tissues, but they have a longer, the contractions can be sustained longer. So this is your skeletal muscles. So as you can see, you have specific stripes there. So these are the stripes, striated skeletal muscles. So these are, on the other hand, these are your cardiac muscles. So it's a bit, if you look at them in the arrangement, the skeletal muscles are more packed together, whereas the cardiac muscles, you have some gaps there. So that's your cardiac muscle. And then the smooth muscles. So unlike the skeletal muscle, which are tubular in shape, your smooth muscles have tapered ends. So it's tapered in the end. So you have tapered ends there. So they are cells with single nucleus, tapered at the ends, and no striations. They are found in the walls of your arteries, the digestive tract, the reproductive tract, the bladder, and other organs. The contraction of the smooth muscles, unlike the skeletal muscles, they are not voluntary. You cannot control them. You cannot consciously control them. Your body obviously controls them, but you cannot consciously control them, unlike your skeletal muscles. So the last type of tissue is your nervous tissue. So the nervous tissue, they are the neurons and the cells that supports these neurons. So the neurons are the signaling cells of the body. They send and receive electrochemical signals. So the signals travel along the plasma membrane of the cell to the end of the cytoplasmic extension, the axon. So they release chemical signaling molecules that diffuse across a small gap to the adjacent neuron. And then these chemical signals will trigger the electrochemical signal on the cell, and then the process starts again. So you have several types of neurons: sensory, interneurons, and the motor neurons. So this is your cell, or rather your neuron. So a typical neuron. So this is your signal receiving extensions from a previous presynaptic neuron, so a previous one. It can receive a signal, and then the signal will travel to the body towards the axon to the next neuron on the line. So the nucleus is here, and then the support cells, as I stated a while ago, the nervous tissue is made up of the neurons and the support cells. So what are those support cells? These are example of your support cells. These are the neuroglial cells, or specifically the Schwann cells, they wrap around the axon. It extends, or rather it enhances the travel of the electrochemical signal towards the end of the axon. The support cells are not restricted only to neuroglial cells. You can also find astral cells there, because the neurons are not directly connected to the blood vessels. Rather, the blood supplies oxygen and nutrients to the support cells, and the support cells will in turn supply these nutrients and oxygen to your neuron cells, or the neurons. So glial cells, they keep the neuron positioned where they should be. So as a part of the support, they provide also, as I told you before, they also provide neurons with nutrients. They can also, some types of neurons, some types of glial cells, they wrap around the cytoplasmic extension in order to speed the rate of electrical signal travel. So this brain and spinal cord tissue, we have the white and the gray matter. So the white matter are the signal-sending axons with the glial cells wrap around them. That's why it's called white matter, because the glial cells tend to be perceived as white. And then you have the gray matter, most neuron cell bodies and their cell-receiving dendrites. So this is your nervous tissue. So this is the brain. So you have the white matter, and then the gray matter towards the exterior. So the next, this concludes the second part of the lecture. In the next part, we will discuss about the different organ systems and one organ system, which is the human skin. So stay tuned for the next part.